Hey, what's up, guys? Been a minute. Just kind of living my life, trying to maintain, keep things whole. Went through a lot of challenges and a lot of changes. However, the purpose remains the same. So, I will begin with reading from New King James, God's perfect knowledge of man. For you formed my inward parts, you covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and my soul knows very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in secret and skillfully wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Your eyes saw my substance, being yet unformed, and in your book they were written, the days fashioned for me, when as yet there were none of them. Today, I want to talk about symbolism. More specifically, the symbolism involving the feminine aspect of spiritual nature and the feminine aspect of reality and creation. The Virgin Mary in the Catholic tradition is worshipped as, some would say an idol, something other than the representation of God or as possessing the Spirit. Now, one interesting thing I'd like to point out right off the bat is how the heart has a knife in it. Now, I'm not going off of any particular knowledge or anyone else's interpretation of it except my own without any, forbearing on it whatsoever. And just from, the eye test, it looks to me like that's a broken heart. Like a heart through a dagger, like a trauma. Like there's trauma in the heart. Like something happened to damage the spirit and it's been stuck there. And that's a big part of this too, is trauma. Sort of this matricidal, like motherly loss trauma, like the death of the mother, and the awaiting return of the mother, that motherly energy. And what would that be? Well, it was just referenced in that Bible verse, the womb, when you were made in the womb. Now, you could take that at its face value, which is true, that you were made in your mother's womb, your physical body was made. And then you can go a step further and say that the womb was your community, the people around you, your direct family, your friends that were around the mother during the circumstances that surrounded you while you were within your mother, and then the circumstances that surrounded you during your development, your childhood. And you could zoom out further to the nation state, where United States, if you're born in North America like I was, or whatever country you're in, your cultural values and your nation state is the womb in which you were formed, and that it was instilled in you as some sort of persona that was overlaid on top of your base persona that was made within your spirit. Just like layers and layers, like a cocoon. Culture and personality and your family and your friends and expectations and all the different perspectives and the things that people want from you and the things that you think you want, all layered on top of your spirit like a cocoon until it's wrapped up completely and in the dark. When all these things wrap around your spirit, all these external influences, it leads to an internal darkness where you cannot see anything for what it is, and you stumble around because you've been so covered by all these veils, by all these perceptual misunderstandings and things that have been forced upon you since birth. That's one way to look at it, the cultural annexation of the spirit. And you can zoom out one step further, and that would be the entire realm. That would be the earth, as you call it. Whatever you would like to think of it as, round, flat, hexagonal, whatever shape you might think, or whatever form you may think the earth takes, is not in debate here, and it's not really relevant because your lived experience is what it is. And I don't think any one of us has gone outside the realm of possibility as far as understanding the physical nature of reality from a top-down view in a way that could be spoken of in word. I certainly had my own opinion about it, but it's, like I said, irrelevant to the conversation and to overall what it means for us as children of God and as spiritual beings. So, to get more towards the point here, the Virgin Mary, as the symbolic representation of the womb as the aggregate womb, the realm itself, the creation itself that was made for us to inhabit. As in, there was a separation or a destruction, a trauma that was induced through the loss or perceived loss of the motherly figure or the mother in general, just as a symbol. And certainly in today's age, motherly energy and, strong positive femininity is in short supply, at least within the, culture that I inhabit and the area that I'm in. I can't say for anyone else, and I'm not saying that there are not strong positive feminine forces within the world and within people's lives, but as an aggregate, as the cultural and societal zeitgeist, it tends to flow towards something more negative and more of like a dark aura, that dark, manipulative, feminine energy, just as much as the dark, warlike, masculine energy is present, which both are required to maintain creation and to maintain the substance of a lived reality. But there seems to be a gross imbalance in the forces within the world that we inhabit. And that is the basis for the story of the Bible itself, in my opinion, that there were laws and rules and things that were set in order to maintain the balance, and that they were tipped over out of men's contempt and turning his face from God. And because of that imbalance, we have the experience that we have today. Now, before I get into this, I want to say that imbalance lies within the heart of every man and every woman, and not just within the aggregate. One must take personal responsibility above all else for the situation that we're in. Otherwise, there can be no resolution. Without personal responsibility, there can be no power. And without power, there can be no change. Without change, well, you get what you have here. The perpetual, cyclical nature of reality eating itself over and over, the spiral, where you simply rotate around and around and around like a Ferris wheel, but never actually moving forward, even though you have the sensory perception of doing so. You have not actually moved forward in any sense. So with that being said, what would that trauma be? What would that motherly trauma be that would cause the so-called, let's call them the, like the rulers of the world. Let's call them the people that seek to maintain a control and to shape reality. Let's just call it control in general. Whatever controlling force which has taken upon itself a sentient or sentient-like persona through the, group mind that it has, or the one objective, which can be argued, Satan worship, science worship, scientific technocracy. That's more of like the acted out like role. That's like the role play of it. But the actual meaning, the substance of it, is simply control. Of simply thinking that you are in the place of God and that you have the right to control someone else's perception and control their live reality, or that you have the want to. However, as I'm sure you would understand, we as men and women, we lack the capability to hold judgment over one another. It's said this many times in the Bible that you should not judge. And I would say, to go even further in the spirit of the law, that you cannot judge. You are incapable of doing so. You can discern that which is evil, that which is good, that which is true, that which is a lie. However, you cannot judge the circumstances by which an individual came upon their own persona and their own actions. Only God can do so. And while the Spirit of Jesus Christ does lay within us, and the Spirit of God does lay within us, I would feel that it would be a gross misuse of that power to use that in a way against what God commanded. I think that's like how we got to this place originally, was that fact. And so, the Mother Mary symbol and the idol worship of Mother Mary is like the worship of the world. It's like the worship of the creation, the womb that birthed Jesus Christ into the world. The womb that birthed you, the world that birthed you. The worship of that rather than the actual genesis of the creation of Jesus Christ, which was the Spirit of God. The Spirit of God is the one that's set to be worshipped, because the Spirit of God is what will get us out of this situation, to put it simply. Just on a nuts and bolts level, to worship God is essentially to gain access to the only pathway that exists outside of our current timeline. And there is no other escape but through Jesus Christ, the one true living Lord of many names. To worship idols is to waste time. Why is it sinful? Why is it wrong to worship idols? Why is it wrong to worship the creation that which birthed us rather than the Creator? It's simply a misunderstanding. These things come from a lack of awareness. They come from a lack of knowledge and understanding, and a lack of empathy, most of all. Not just empathy for your fellow man, but empathy for yourself. And I preach this quite a lot, that empathy for yourself is a strong way to lead yourself towards God, because self-forgiveness is godly in the way that God forgives you. God loves you unconditionally. I would speculate that through thousands and hundreds of thousands of years, man has not yet known judgment. For in Revelation it speaks about how even the dead shall be brought up to know judgment before the Lord. Every single living soul that has ever inhabited the earth shall be brought up during the day and the return of the Son of Man, in order to face judgment for their actions. And with that being said, you as an individual, if you were to worship an idol, something other than the Spirit of God, however you may claim it takes form, there's many different interpretations of that, and I'm not here really to speculate, I'm not here to claim that one thing or one name or another is the correct interpretation. I think in your heart of hearts and in your spirit, you can understand, if you're from a Western point of view, that Jesus Christ is the way out of this place. He is the gateway to the one true living God, that Spirit that lives within yourself. And that worshiping idols at the end of the day is simply a distraction from the ultimate point of what this place is for. As it said in the verse, God knew and planned all of your days before there was yet any of them. And so all of this has been meticulously crafted. So much sacrifice has been made in order for you to come to the point that you are now, even watching this video. I'm not placing any undue importance upon myself or the information that I put upon you. But what I am saying is, come to the appreciation of the fact that God loves you so much that He has constructed an entire circumstance, an entire existence around simply getting you to understand something about yourself. Now, that doesn't mean something like you now understand that you were jealous and that you've released that jealousy, or that you now understand that you were angry and you've released that anger, or in something that is quite big and the source of all of those things, trauma. For the you could call trauma the source of sin. It's like the essential source of sin is trauma, because trauma perpetuates sin through its nature. Because through trauma, you seek to alleviate the trauma by perpetuating the same action over and over and over again. And so, as above, so below, as God said, there is no new thing upon the earth. So it is. There is no new thing upon the earth. It is simply as it says. There is no new action, because the same perpetual trauma has not yet released us from its hold. Well, at least not physically. Spiritually, you can be free within this life, but for whatever reason, and perhaps we'll make a video on that, we are still locked within the paradigm of physical existence. No matter how far and how close we may brush up against the objective truth, we in this capacity are not capable of understanding spiritual truth in a way that can be communicated within the form that we take. And the only way to demonstrate this truth is through art. Art, to me, is the culmination of many different factors all tying into a single action to rip a hole open in the space between the living world and the spirit world. You could call that, the underworld or the overworld, heaven. To split a rift between heaven and earth, so that you may but for a moment look through it and see the truth. I offer this as an exercise before I finish the video and I wrap up my point, and as to the real reason why I wanted to bring this up. You see this picture? Look into the eyes of this picture. Look into the eyes here. It's very well made, And this, in fact, the eyes are very, very well made. It's a very excellent artist that made this. Look, there's the three tridents, Just reflect on that. I'm not going to tell you what to think about it, but just look directly into the eyes here and look at the backdrop and reflect for a moment. So, to finish my point upon that reflection, the trauma is essentially the loss and destruction of the realm over and over and over and over again, as we have so perpetually, and excuse my language, fucked it up beyond any repair, to where it had to be completely restored, such as in the flood, such as what was promised in Revelation, that there may be a new heaven and a new earth, that we may seek to have a resolution to this cycle that we've caught ourselves in. The reason why the idol worship of Mary is relevant is because it is the worship of the thing which was never to be made perfect again. It is an idolization of something that can never be attained again within the current realm that we are. But it is the essential nature of this place that once existed. A true motherly caring energy that exuberated throughout the whole of creation, gifted to us by God, the Garden of Eden. From the fall from the Garden of Eden, there's been nothing but looking back up at the past to see which that we lost and find it again. And in a misunderstood and misguided attempt at conjuring that, there have been many bad things done in the name of restoring said original state, while denying, like I said, misguided. I don't judge. I'm not judging the creators of this world to any sort of damnation, because likely there's evidence for this in the Bible, that they were us at a time, that we were the ones ultimately, that there is no other but the children of God who have perpetuated the cycle and who've done these things. And only out of the love of God and the fruitful circumstances that we find ourselves in are we in a position to where we are powerless to perpetuate that trauma and where we have an opportunity to heal. Thank God. Thank Jesus Christ. And everything that you see taking place in the world, everything that you see taking place in your life, the trauma that you possess, is nearly impossible to let go of without the assistance of God. In fact, I would say it is impossible, because it is entrenched in a deep spiritual root far beyond the comprehension of man. That the trauma of the loss of the Garden of Eden, the world that we once knew, has perpetuated a cycle of destruction for an untold and it's an incomprehensible amount of time. It's like not even time, it's always been this way, and it always will be this way until the hand of God reaches in and intervenes, which he promised that he would do, and he is doing currently. And he will do it within your life as you live, and within your death as you pass on to the next world, if you accept Jesus Christ into your life, if you accept God into your life, if you accept positive energy into your life. And I think the main way to do that is to embody that spirit. Rather than worship the idol of Mary and worship the womb and worship that original state, you should seek, as you are made in the image of God, to embody that essence. And to embody that essence is to see it created within the world, where everything that you embody shall be reflected upon your existence and perpetuated upon your death. For as it was promised, you shall be judged on the things that which you do during this life, and the thoughts that you have, and the ways and means. I feel like that is a test. Not a test that's right or wrong, but it's simply asking, what do you really want? What do you really want? Do you really want revenge? Do you really want to get back at all those people who hurt you? Because at the end of the day, we are all part of the body of the one true living God. And to do that is to take revenge and vengeance upon God himself. It is, if you take vengeance and revenge upon any other child of God, it is to God himself that you do this. And he allows it to be so to respect your free will. But if you choose differently, he will move mountains. He will move the earth. He will destroy this entire realm and remake it anew in order to fulfill that promise that he made. He will destroy everything and recreate it so that he may honor your wishes. That is how much God loves you. So please don't be held up on your trauma. Don't be held up on the things that you were. Don't be held up on the things that you are. And don't be held up on the things that you will be. Exist in the moment and thank God for every moment that you have, that you may exist within this realm and within his presence. Thank God for the things that you possess. Thank God that things are not worse than they could be. They are exactly as they are meant to be. Be grateful and thankful and have no expectations except that we could go higher and better and greater, more kind, more empathetic, more love for our enemies and more love for our fellow men. Thank you so much for listening. It's just the first video back, a little tester, a little freestyle, And I really hope you guys are having a good one. I know things are getting tough out there, but keep your chin up, God's got your back, and if God has your back, well, who else having your back could help more than God? You don't need anything else, and you're never alone. God bless. Thank you.